Good morning, everyone. I'll just fade that down. That was the All Seeing Hand. I've seen them live in Wellington. It's pretty hectic for this time of the morning. All right, welcome to WHAM Wairarapa. I'm Hayley Gastmeyer, your host. I'm here to tell you what's happening around the region this week. In the studio with me, I've got my sister, Kim. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Kimberly Gastmeyer. She's my beautiful sister. She's over from Sydney, so she's going to be co-hosting, and we'll ask her some questions and put her on the spot. All right. So the date today, 29th of June, already. And it's Friday, and it's pretty drizzly outside. But I think there's quite a bit going on around the region. Thanks Trust House for sponsoring this show. And it's, what's the time? 8:05. Cool. All right, well, Kim, hi.
Hi.
So you're a chef, yeah?
Yep.
And what have you been up to tell us about it. You've been a chef you've been living in Sydney for about 12 years now, eh?
Yep.
And how's that been?
Yeah, it's been a real learning curve.
Yeah? What have you been getting up to while you've been over in the Aussie?
I moved over there when I was 18 and I was in Sydney for almost 10 years. I was really lucky that I had some other Kiwi mates living over there, so we started working together at Rockpool. So that was a pretty cool experience working for Neil Perry. And then I was learning a lot of Asian influenced food there. So Chinese cooking, Thai, balancing flavours, got a really well-developed palate from learning how to balance like salty, sour, sweet using fish sauce, palm sugar and lime juice, or in Chinese cooking like Shaoxing, soy and rock sugar, and then like a lot of Japanese influenced from working at Tetsuyas for a couple of years a bit later down the track. And that was a real cool experience.
That was that one of the top 5 restaurants in the world at one point?
Yeah, back in the 90s, Tets was 4th in the world.
Wow.
And then Rockpool and Tetsuyas did maintain in the top 50 of the world for a long time. I don't know, do you guys have the hat system here? Like the restaurants
Michelin
have
stars.
1, 2.
I don't really know.
Yeah, so over in Europe they have the Michelin stars, whereas in Australia we had like this hat system. So those restaurants held 3 hats for a long time, and then sort of went down to 2 hats, and then we're striving to get our 3rd hat back, and it was like quite an intense way of working in the industry. And then like that sort of whole fine dining scene sort of died down, and ended up taking a step back and working in like quite fun kitchens with the flames and wood fires and the music cranking and the open kitchens and stuff like that. So then that sort of sparked a passion for a bit more of like an artisan crafting way of cooking. Mm-hmm. So my friend built me a smoker with 2 44-gallon drums, and I built a wood fire oven. And when I moved up to the Blue Mountains after about 3 years ago, and I just started doing some random catering work for this woman, and ended up like going to all these people's houses, and they had these wood fire ovens out the back, and like their just way of life was really amazing. And I made some friends with people that would go hunting with bow and arrows and get lots of goats, little billy goats and stuff. So started playing around a lot with a lot of native ingredients and local wood, fruit woods, and sort of smoking stuff, and using all of that wood in the wood fires, and playing around and getting as much experience with as many different wood fire ovens as possible, and just like honing the skills as an artisan baker.
Cool. Oh, awesome, Kim. All right, well, I'm going to jump and read out some events happening. Then we'll put on a track, and then I'll ask you some more questions about chefing in the world of food.
Cool.
My favourite part of the world is the kitchen. All right, so what's happening today, 7 p.m, the end of the Golden Weather. So this here is, I think it's a school production put on by... excuse me. All right. This quintessential Kiwi classic chronicle and friendship between a 12-year-old boy and the wild-limbed furpo. Through the boys' eyes, we see the wonder of life on a perfect beach in a perfect 1930s New Zealand during a perfect summer. It's a world of magic and transformation where anything can happen and miracles seem possible. Now, this is at the Trust House Theatre at Rathkeale College. It's Rathkeale's and St Matthew's Senior College presentation, and it's a play by Bruce Mason in a company version by Raymond Hawthorne. So that's happening tonight, again at the Trust House Theatre, which is at Rathkeale College. 7 o'clock tonight, tomorrow 7 p.m. It's on again Monday the 2nd of July at lunchtime, and then Tuesday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. again. So if you want your tickets, you're going to have to jump online to Event Finder, or you can call 0800 buy ticks. That's 0800 289 849, and it's $20 for an adult, $15 for a senior, and $10 for a student. So head along to that. If Michael comes in, I don't know if his wife's involved with this one, but she's often involved in those school productions, so we'll get him to talk about it if he pops in time and knows about it. Okay, so at the Carterton Event Centre today from 11 till 1, there's the Opportunity Presents Shake, Rattle and Roll. So this is the 50s and 60s introduced a liberating new beat, a more enveloping style of music, a greater zest for life, and a more contagious invitation to dance than ever before. It gave us some of the greatest artists of all time and started the frenzy of crazed fans, fanatical adoration, and even panty throwing. This reminds us of that film we watched the other day, Kim, La Bamba.
Oh, yeah.
About Richie Valens.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was some rock and roll. So we rock around the clock to the greatest hits of the era, showcasing many of its different genres, including rock and roll, crooners, swing and pop. So this starring iconic New Zealand artists like Suzanne Lynch from The Chicks, Pat Ehrlich from Peking Man, and joined by Opportunity's favourite core artists, Bonaventure Alan Motawa, and Carl Perigo, or I'm not sure, and the band. Everyone will be in for a good time, so if you want to head along, remember it's today at 11, so you don't have much time. If you want to get there, call this number to see if there's any spots left. It's 0508 266 237, and one more time, that's 0508 266 237, and it's $35 for a ticket. And the ticket prices vary. So, yeah, that's, I think, the number to call, and it's at the Carterton Event Centre today. All right. Jones Deviation. This looks like it's a musical group. They're back in Featherston by popular demand. They're playing a selection of songs that you'll love at the Empire Hotel in Featherston. That's on Johnson Street. They're going to be performing tomorrow from 8 p.m, and it's free on the door, but you've got to be 18 to get into the pub. So head down to Featherston's Empire Hotel if you want to see Jones Deviation playing tomorrow night from 8. As usual, there's the regular farmers market. So the Wairarapa farmers market happens tomorrow in Masterton at the Farriers car park in the sheltered area, so it's on if it's raining. Lots to choose from there, and that kicks off at 9 and runs until the early afternoon. Down in Featherston, you can go to the Featherston Produce Market, just over the railway tracks, out the back of the Baker's car park, and just behind the pharmacy there. That one kicks off at 9, and that one kicks off at 8 and runs until 2. And then, of course, there's the Carterton Farmers Market on Sunday. That one starts, I think, 9ish, and it goes until the early afternoon, and that's at Memorial Square. And then there's the car boot sale on Sunday on the corner of Essex and Chapel Street in that big car park. That one kicks off sometime in the morning, runs for a good part of the day. Okay, the Aratoi Fab Lab workshop is happening on Sunday from 1:30 till 4:30. $60 for this event. What's it all about? It's for grown-ups. design a cotton tote bag inspired by the art of Wayne Yule. Yule's exhibition of portraits of New Zealand cultural icons is now showing. Join the Fab Lab crew at Aratoi in this hands-on 3-hour workshop. Materials and afternoon tea provided. So what are you making? You're designing a cotton tote bag. All right, if you want to book, it's the number to call is 370-0001. So that's 370-0001, or you can email info@aratoi.co.nz. It's you got to be 16 or over. Okay, again, it's at Aratoi on Sunday from 1:30 p.m. It's 3 hours, $60, but that includes everything and some afternoon tea. But you might need to book your spot. And this guy's art is actually pretty cool. I'll just turn my computer around and see if you can just see this picture. Oh, no, the lighting is not working in our favour. Keep trying. You can sort of see it now. That sort of it's like colourful block figures, portraits. Okay, and then another event at the Empire Hotel in Featherston is the pub quiz, and that happens every Monday night from 7 p.m, and you just rock up with your team, and you can register on the night, or you can turn up and join someone else's team. Maybe they've got odd numbers, but the pub quiz, yep, that's every Monday night at the Empire Hotel in Featherston. All right, Kim, I'm going to play you a treat. All right. I've teed up this record. It's some Prince, Kim's Hero, and I don't know if I've queued it up right, but let's see. And we're back. Stop. So that was Prince.
Pop life.
Kim, tell us, what do you like about Prince?
He's like a creative musician genius. Carlos Santana said that he's the best guitarist in the world.
Prince is?
Yeah.
And that came from Santana.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, he's a legend, and he's just so creative. And yeah, I went and saw him in Sydney, Brisbane, and Melbourne when I was younger in Sydney.
You followed him around the country, eh?
Yeah.
What did your work think at that time? You're just like, sorry, can't come in, got to go on a Prince binge.
Well, I was working for my head chef from Rockpool, Michael McInerney, and he opened Kitchen by Mike, and I'd worked for him for a long time, so he really knew that Prince was like my one true love. So when I told him that this was high in the priorities, he was totally understandable, and I smashed out those concerts in a week. And managed to still do my normal hours, but yeah, I just put my head down and worked hard leading up to it. And then in Brisbane, me and my cousin ended up waiting up in the line in the valley at the Hi-Fi, and saw Prince's after party, and he was like just right in front of us. It was incredible. Yeah, he's amazing. And he gave his guitar to some guy off the Prince stage, the dude right in front of me. I wish I got that guitar.
Yeah, pretty sad that he's not here, but he's left heaps of awesome music and memories, eh?
Yeah.
So in the chefing industry, what do you like about it?
I like it more these days when I can sort of get inspired, and my creative journey sort of sparked from nature and old ancient traditions and ways of cooking, and bringing it back to the basics, and thinking about where the food's coming from, and
you've pretty much spent the last 3 years living in the Blue Mountains foraging.
Yeah.
Eh?
Yeah.
And you made a wood fire oven yourself.
Yeah.
And you've been making lots of sourdough.
Yeah, so I was working at this place which had a beautiful little garden next to the little kitchen, and the routine would be like bread making, cakes, tarts, making our own cultured butter, lots of jams and preserves and pickles and stuff. So I sort of had this like really strong routine of the stuff that I had to do, but there was a lot of leeway to get creative with that. So I'd go into the garden, and there'd be this beautiful bush of amaranth, so I would pick some of that and play around with it, and like there was a gardener there, I could ask her about stuff, and then I would create like all these different magical flavours with what's sort of around me. There was a beautiful fig tree out the back of my house, so I would start a little sourdough fermentation with some figs, and then sort of sign that loaf of bread with a beautiful fig leaf on the top, and then when you'd pull that bread out of the wood fire oven, you'd just smell the most amazing smell of fig essence coming out of the oven. And then I started to sort of play around with smoking the bread as well. So in the wood fire oven, you'd have to build a massive fire, and you'd want to sort of manage that fire burning to about 300 degrees and all that wood sort of burning down at the same time. So when you smash that fire up with all the embers to lay on the oven floor to heat the floor up, the air would be nice and hot, the roof would be hot, the heat would hold, so it was like equalised heat all through the oven. So
balanced heat, cooking the bread.
Yeah, and then I'd need to scrape all of those embers out of the wood fire oven after it had sat on there for about half an hour, so I knew that oven floor was hot. And in that time I was cleaning it, the door would be open and I'd be losing heat, so I'd need to like gauge that I'd have enough heat in there. So when I put my bread down on that oven floor, I get like a nice, beautiful, even crust, and that heat from the floor helps push all those air bubbles up through the bread.
Yeah.
And if I was doing like the fig leaf sourdough bread, then I would keep like a little log of fig wood just on the corner of the wood fire oven on some embers, so it would be smoking that beautiful fruit wood into the bread, and that would flavour profile would sort of go into the crust.
Nice.
Yeah, so I was getting a bit creative with the way I was making bread or doing anything really. Like the cultured butter would need to be sort of sitting at around 30, 45 degrees. So I would sit that in the wood fire oven once the oven had cooled right down and culture that overnight. Mm-hmm. So that would sort of take on a bit of that smoky flavour as well from just culturing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And working in some of those big name restaurants must have been pretty stressful.
Yeah, well, it's funny because everyone else that's working there wants to be a part of this vision as well, and everyone just puts their heads down and works really hard, and sort of like a tribe, and you've all got the same vision and
what to be
goal,
the best.
and it's very competitive. But yeah, you sort of wake up, go to work, go to sleep, clockwork, and go and drink some beers or party after or on the weekend.
Yeah.
But you're sort of hanging out with everyone that you've just worked really hard with, and yeah, it's cool when you've got a good kitchen team, and yeah, always learning. You kept on your toes, working your way up the ranks, and yeah, just it was really inspiring. Like at Rockpool, like if you start on larder, you would if you'd probably be downstairs in the dungeon where all the fish tanks are and all the produce is getting pushed down the hatch and the rocks and all the, yeah, you'd just be the shit kicker of the kitchen. And then there would
What
be...
would you be doing down there, like cutting onions, peeling potatoes? Would you be
not really, like
descaling fish?
Yeah, I'd have to, the mud crabs would come in, and there would be a whole different range of crabs really, but mud crabs were the real aggressive ones that I remember, and you'd have to kill them, and so they would kill them by stabbing a really sharp knife into its brain really fast so it dies really quickly, so the meat stays really tender. And the first time I got shown how to do it, I was like crying because I didn't really want to kill anything, but I had to just put that aside and get on with it, because you'd have to start like at 10 a.m. and get there before everybody else so that you'd be done in time. And yeah, I'd pick all the herbs for the entire kitchen, do the salad mix, make some dressings, kill the crabs, pick the crabs. The head chef would phone me up and go, how much did the crabs weigh? How much yield did you get? How much wastage did you get? And then it'd be like, oh, okay, Kim, you're doing really good at picking the crabs. You're getting 33% yield. What are you doing down there? How are you getting that much or something? And it was just because I was going in early to do the job properly. But then later on I found out like the next generation of chefs that started working there were like soaking the crab meat in water to make it weigh more, waterlogging. So they were cheating. But yeah, it was, that sort of stuff wasn't really acceptable. And there would be a Chinese lady called Wan Chin, who had worked for Neil Perry from the very beginning, and she would be a genius at making all the little Peking duck pancakes and tortellinis and dumplings, and yeah, she was a real cool little lady. And then Joel, my good friend from Wellington, he was downstairs on the fish section, and so he would be starting early as well because he would have a massive amount of work to do. So it was pretty fun downstairs in the dungeon, working with him. And we would used to have competitions and race each other to try and get our jobs done as fast as possible. And then he would always sing like Fleetwood Mac to me, "Go Your Own Way."
Okay, well, on that note, shall we do it?
Yeah.
You isn't the right thing to do. And how can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, maybe I'd give you my word. How can I, when you won't take it from me? You could go your own way. Tell me why everything turned around.
that was some Fleetwood Mac going out to Joel. Stop that. All right, back to the events because we're running out of time. It's 8:33. Thanks for tuning in. Love having your company on a Friday morning. Now, we've got music co-creation with Jonas Kokil, and he will be at Aratoi on Tuesday from 6 p.m. for an hour and a half. He invites anyone to come along. It's just koha. He's been travelling the world. Remember, he's originally from the Czech Republic, but he's been travelling the world collecting instruments. He just loves instruments. He's also a musical therapist, so he invites you along to this free event, but really a koha would be appreciated. And pretty much you sit together, you play music together, even if you don't even know how to play. All of his instruments are really quite cool. You might remember a month ago when he was in here with me, making me play music live on air. All the instruments just sound beautiful. They're not really things that you can get away without knowing how to do it, and the sound is still pleasing. All right, so check him out. 7:30 Aratoi Tuesday nights. Anyone can come along. Hundreds of music therapy instruments are designed for you to have a go, and you can't make a mistake even if you tried. No musical experience is necessary, and Jonas will provide a safe and supportive environment that encourages participants of any age group to let go of their inhibitions, relax, play, express, have fun, and communicate through sound. So any age can head along. That's quite cool. Quite a cool event. Now, Mahi Toi, I've mentioned this a couple of times already. It's an educational program that Aratoi are hosting. I don't know if they're hosting, but they're putting it on. And basically, there's you can take a class, or a group of you can head along to Aratoi. There's Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. There's, I think, 3 time slots. So it's an hour and a half, and you can sort of do some workshops revolved around one of the museum items. So if you're keen to learn more about this, head into Aratoi and ask about it, Mahi Toi, or you can email, where is it? You can go onto the website www.schoolinterviews.co.nz and type in the code WNACB. That's if you want to book your spot. The Tin Hut, they've got their live music again. I think it's the first Wednesday of the month, isn't it? I think it might only be $5 to get in. Well, this time it's $7.50 to get in, which isn't too bad for some live music. The Tin Hut, a Wednesday from 7:30, so it's the first Wednesday of the month, 4th of July, this next one. And who are the guests this week? Next week are going to be Good as Gold with their full-on pub rock classics, and then Graphia, who everyone knows, local musicians in Wairarapa. They're going to be playing a mix of originals and American covers. Ross McWhirter, he's my buddy. He's the beer brewer. He's is it Big Brew and Borrow? I think I've got the order right. He makes awesome beer up at his Norfolk Road property. So he is going to be, he's a soloist guitar playing, he'll be, and a folk singer, so he'll be playing his music as well. And then there'll be Bob and Kate, who need no introduction to the local music scene, but I don't know who they are. So it sounds like there's going to be a good array of musicians there. $7.50 is pretty affordable, and happy hour starts at 6 p.m. And the Tin Hut will have their specials. So they've got specials on the menu for $10 or less, and the sirloin steak dish is $20. So that sounding pretty cool. Head down to the iconic Kiwi country pub, the Tin Hut. You all know where that is, Teranikau. Get there on Wednesday for some dinner and some good entertainment, music entertainment, I guess. Now, there's the open mic night happening at the Dragon Inn on Wednesday as well, 7:30. So if you want to show off your own skills and you don't want to watch other musicians, then head down to Featherston, the Dragon Inn, and put your name on the board and you can perform. I think you've got about 10 minutes to get as much in as you can. And the open mic night is every Wednesday from 7:30 until 9:30. And, of course, the Dragon Inn is next to the supermarket. Oh, this sounds good. Pizza, pints and Pinot Gris. Salute restaurant in Greytown. This is Wednesday night too. Golly gosh, Wednesday's a busy one. So every Wednesday, come to Salute restaurant in Greytown for pizza, pints and Pinot Gris. Choose any pizza plus a tap beer or cider or glass of Italian Pinot Grigio for $25. Yum. Says no substitutions, please. Gluten-free and vegan options are available for an additional charge. Excludes takeaway orders and available for a limited time. So Salute in Greytown if you're keen for sort of an Italian dinner for $25 on Wednesdays. How many more events have we got? A few more to go. Sunset Cinema, Baden, B-A-D-E-N. How do you say that? How do you reckon you say that, Kim? B-A-D-E-N. Baden? Who knows?
Sure.
It's Friday. That's next Friday from 7:30. As usual, Sunset Cinemas will be holding their film at the Carterton Event Centre. Now, what's this film about? A coming-of-age comedy about a ditzy French 20-something looking for meaning in her life. Sounds like nothing new, but first-time director Rachel Lang's Baden is utterly distinctive. Anna is a chaotically disorganised driver on a movie shoot who borrows one of the swanky hire cars and returns to her hometown of Strasbourg, where she flirts between old flames and decides to renovate her grandma's bathroom, despite knowing nothing about plumbing or tiling. The brilliant editing always leaving us guessing where this woman or the next shot will take us. The overall effect is beguiling yet slightly bonkers. It will drive some viewers up the wall, but fans will feel a rush of discovering a unique new director and, in Richard, a gawky yet captivating screen presence. Okay, so what I just read out was written by Trevor Johnston of Time Out, so that was his little review of this film. I don't know which country it originates from. Sunset Cinema. So this this film, $30 if you want to get a membership ticket to Sunset Cinema, a 3-month membership, and they do regularly show their films at the Carterton Event Centre. So this one is next Friday at 7:30. If you want to get your ticket, then go on to Event Finder and there's a little button that says buy tickets. So that makes it easy peasy for you. And I'll just so all these other events are next week, so I'll remind you about them next week, but we'll just recap this one. We had Di Grant. She came in 2 weeks ago as my guest. She was from the Learning Disabilities Association of New Zealand. They are going to be holding their conference next weekend, starting Friday at the Copthorne Hotel, so Solway Park, and that's going to be a whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday of guest speakers and workshops and really getting to grips with people that have learning disabilities. And I spoke with one of the guest speakers who's going to be sort of launching the conference, Matt Strawbridge. He's 19 from Wellington. He's got dyslexia. He, when he was 13, he started public speaking, talking about what it meant to have dyslexia, and he's ever since he started his company where he's developed computer programs to help people learn better, basically saying that he doesn't want other people to go through school like he did, having trouble with learning. So this 19-year-old is incredibly amazing, really, using his experiences to help other people have a easier sort of get through life. He gives them tools and whatnot. So he'll be speaking at this event, which I think is going to be worthwhile seeing. I spoke with him about a week ago and he was super inspiring. I thought this is one cool 19-year-old. So that's Matt Strawbridge, I think his name is, and he started dyslexia. What was it? Dyslexia Potential is the name of his company, so you can Google that and check him out. All right, well, it's 8:42. It's almost time for us to go, but I just thought, hey, Kim.
Yeah.
Kim in the house. Little sis, you've just been up in Hawke's Bay.
Yeah.
And you were up there for Matariki.
That's right.
And what were you doing up there?
I've got a really good friend that I met from Sydney in Kitchen by Mike. Her name's Tyne Marie. And she moved back home a couple years ago and told me if I wanted to come down and check out this event, it's going to be really worth my while, and it totally was. It was a real learning curve. There's a star compass that's been built down there in Hawke's Bay, and
we're getting one in South Wairarapa, fingers crossed.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, and it's beautiful. There was 32 pos, and they all represented the seasons and the way that they could navigate navigate from the Polynesian islands over to New Zealand by the stars rising and falling and through the seasons and stuff. So got a real good education on that, and the pose were just beautifully carved. It was amazing. And there was a lot of information about minimising waste and plastic free.
And you notice that they're doing a pretty good job up there, aren't they?
Oh, it's incredible. Really inspiring. They're the change that needs to happen to set a good example for the rest of the world.
Yep. But what were you doing for the majority of that time?
I was helping. There was a lot of storytelling going on with, a lot of the where the foods come from and how they eat. And so we got to try. They were doing a few hungies.
You cooked 3 hungies, didn't you?
I helped.
How does it?
Really
how do you do it?
So they dug a big pit in the ground and got a whole lot of wood caught on fire and put all these rocks on top of it, that hold really good heat. It must have been some sort of volcanic rocks, really big ones. And the fire was going for hours and hours until those rocks got really nice and white. And once the wood burns, the rocks sort of sink down into the ground. And then we laid a whole lot of a rack over the rocks, lots of banana leaves and kawa plant, and laid all the food down, lots of kumara, puha, some mutton bird, which they call titi, and there was some fish, swan, duck, and chicken. Food from all the different elements, the ocean, the sky, the earth, and all of that. And then the whole covered it with a whole lot more banana leaves and kawa, and then sacks, canvas potato sacks, and the soil back on top. And so on the morning of Matariki rising, we'd put a hangi in the ground at about 2:00 in the morning and pulled it up at sunrise as we watched Matariki rise as well.
And what were some of the things that you ate that you were cooking in the hangi?
So the kumara and the titi bird, mutton bird, which was from Stewart Island. And I was researching about that, and they would preserve them in bull kelp, and then they would last for a year or more. And I was really lucky to try some of that. It was really rich, pretty intense. Oh, and we got to eat lots of the rawana bread.
Oh, yep.
That was amazing.
Yeah. Swan, you said you ate.
Yeah, that came up in the hangi as well.
What was that like?
There were so many birds there to try from. I wasn't quite sure
what you ate. What was what?
Yeah,
so it was mutton, bird, swan,
duck, and chicken.
Duck and chicken. Okay, interesting. And I saw on one of your Facebook posts you were grating something, and it was coconut. Was it
taro?
And what were you doing with that?
It was a Tahitian guy that he was doing one of his secret recipes. So it was taro, which he grated on this really cool grater he had made out of a piece of ply metal, and they tapped a whole lot of holes into the ply metal, so it created like a rough surface, and that was what they were grating all of the taro in, and then it was mixed with coconut cream and I think a little bit of raw sugar, and then that was wrapped in banana leaves and that was put down in the hangi as well. Yeah, that was really delicious as well. It was one of my favourite.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good one, Kim. I'll quickly give people the weather and then we better skedaddle so I'm not late for work. All right, today it's wet outside, I must say. I didn't expect it to be wet, and it doesn't say it's going to be wet. It says, the situation is a southwest flow eases over New Zealand as a high spreads over the country from the Tasman Sea. That's, I think, the rubbish truck cruising along. All right, today, mainly fine. This is for Wairarapa. Mainly fine, cloud at times and a few coastal showers, and there'll be southerlies. Tomorrow, fine with some morning frosts, high cloud increasing at night, light winds, northerlies developing afternoon. So we might get our washing dry tomorrow. Sunday, cloud increasing, scattered rain developing later, northerlies strong in exposed places. So looking at Masterton in particular today, we've got a high of 12, fine but cloud at times, morning frosts, light winds. Saturday, tomorrow, morning low of -1, we've got a high of 12, fine with morning frosts, high cloud at night, northerlies developing in the afternoon. Sunday, it looks like a cloud, a morning low of 2, 13 is the high, cloud increasing, occasional rain developing later, northerlies gusty at times. Just looking at the lower part of the North Island now, we've got a high of 10 in Dannyverk, a high of 12 in Masterton, a high of 11 in Featherston, a high of 12 in Wellington, a high of 13 in Parapara Umu, and a high of 12 in Palmerston North. Well, Kim, thank you so much for for joining us today. Sorry for waking you up early, but I really appreciate you coming in, and it's been really interesting talking to you about getting a little snapshot about what your world has been over the last sort of decade with the different cooking experiences that you've had. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Remember to go and like the WHAM Wairarapa Facebook page. I'll post up this podcast hopefully later today, but maybe in the next few days. And this will probably be broadcast on Wairarapa TV as well. Now, everyone have a safe weekend and a safe week next week, and we'll be back again next Friday at 8 a.m. And again, thank you Trust House for sponsoring the show. Ka kite.